In this video, we're going to go over the installation of a Dell Canvas 27 onto a modified Zoot arm. What this arm has is a Cintiq 27 QHD kit with a modified mounting plate from an MT11. All in all, I don't expect to sell more of these kits than maybe 5 or so. Because it requires a screen they didn't make a lot of. And then it also requires, you have to have the VESA mounting plate for the Dell Canvas too, which they made even less of. So this kit only pertains to a Dell Canvas screen with the VESA mounting plate on the back. And more or less, a customer came in with a request. They really, really wanted it. So I played around with it and got it to go. Now, a lot of this video is going to be a real-time investigation of installing different cables in here. I haven't done that yet. I've only verified that the mounting plate works and that it's weighted properly. So, without further ado, we're going to pull the camera in and I'll give you a detailed breakdown of the setup process. So, during the setup process, I'm going to use kind of speedy tools like nut drivers and non-standard hex wrenches. These are just faster. Normally, I would use the tools that are included in the kit, but this is a special case for the Dell Canvas. I just want to get this done quick. So what we're going to start with here is taking off the mounting plate that's going to come with it, attach it to the Dell Canvas, and then screw it into place. Let's go into that. So firstly, there are, remove the mounting plate from the back. Here it may require a wrench, but I have a nut driver, and I'll take off these nuts in the back. Now, look at these two oblong shapes there. Those are at the bottom of the mounting plate. So you want those towards the bottom of the screen. Cable bay up here indicates the top of the screen, so it's going to align like that. Now, you'll have 4 M4 screws that will be included along. They will align with the 4 100 millimeter mounting holes of this mounting plate. Now let's mount it on the screen. Now, once I got them hand tight, I'm going to go and go all the way around and just make sure they're nice and snug. So now that we've attached the mounting plate here, what we're going to do is attach the screen to the arm itself. Now, what I've done is I've gone into the packaging of the box, and there are several chunks of foam packaging that I'm grabbing out. This is all the foam packaging to the bottom front section of the box. These will go over these grip feet here and over the top over here. And what this is this serves as a platform we can just rest the screen on top of and then put the mounting plate through these screw holes here on the arm. Now, for the arm itself, we want to make sure that it's the downward sloping section of the arm, so make sure this isn't pointing the wrong way. It's pretty easy to tell because they have this combiner board here, and that should be on the bottom side. As for the cables, we're going to want to mount them coming up and out of the arm over here, because then they're going to go off to the cable bay over here. So first things first is I'm going to be using a nut driver. A wrench comes with the kit. You can use that. This is a 8 millimeter nut driver that I'm using just in case you want to go fast too. This on top. You want to kind of put that over here. Make sure that you don't go too far out on these foam blocks because they can topple over and make your life miserable. I'm gonna put these cables up, and then I'm gonna kind of ride these back here, and it's hard showing you guys at the same time. Okay, so here we are. We got the bottom nuts or the bottom screws in. I keep tilting back, and of course it's going to be, and there we, it's being a little stubborn. Sorry guys. And there we go. Now it's through. Now all the screws are through. And while pressing on here, I'm just going to hand tighten a couple here. Get ourselves out of the danger zone. Once you got a couple hand tight nuts on here, you're not going to have to worry so much. Two. The danger zone is passed now. We've got at least 2 nuts on. And to tighten the nuts, if you have a nut driver, it's easy just to rotate it down like that, and it's easy access to the nuts. We have this. I'm going to spin this around so you can take a look. Now we have all these cables coming out here that are wrong for this screen, and we're going to have to go through here and replace them in the arm. So we're going to start out by pulling off the back covers here of the anti-toppling arms. And you'll note that there's a small side. I go in here and kind of pull up on that and then out, and they just pop right out. There we go. Now we have access to all the cables, and I pull out the cable tag and everything like that. All right, now I'm going to roll this up over here, and this has 2 toggles on top. I'm going to pull the toggles out, and you'll note here in the top of the arms there's some places that'll fit those toggles, or these elastic bands and toggles. There you go. There we are. We're going to pull out basically all these cables except for the HDMI, such that they're sticking out of the top of the arm over here. So I'm going to feed these cables in over here. I'm going to toggle around and then pull them up, but I'm going to leave the HDMI cable there. All right, so we still have the HDMI cable coming out of here. I pulled these cables halfway out. These are the cables that we're removing. Now what I do is I wiggle them on this side. I see which one moves, and I'm pulling this up here. And this is a cable guide, so that's USB. And all right, now what we're going to do is pull these cables out. Okay, so I ran out and grabbed some tools that I have to show you. First, you're going to need some tape. I prefer electrical tape, but a lot of people just don't have this. You could use things like painter's tape, scotch tape. This is good because it's a very tough tape for bending and curving while these cables are being pulled through the arm. But using a little bit more of this stuff, you can get the same basic effect. Okay, and I also have a scissors here for cutting some zip ties. Now, the first zip tie that I have to cut down here is this cable tag one. I'm going to cut that off for this whole cable bundle because we're going to need a whole new cable bundle for this screen. So cut that there. Okay, and we're going to want to save this cable tag. So we'll do that. Now, let me change the camera position and I'll show you the cable bundle that we have to, or the zip tie that we have to cut inside the arm. Now, I'm looking inside the arm here, pardon the shake. And if you look right over here, you'll see this cable tie that has the cable bundle up here. I'm going to cut this off to loosen up these so we can pull these cables out and change them around. Okay, so here we have the Cintiq power cable that goes through the arm. We're going to take the cable that's on the bottom and we're going to use that to pull through the Dell power cable that's actually attached to the Dell power supply. Note the connector here is not right. I had to repair the connector I had, so that's the repaired connector. So what we're going to do is just tape these two things close together and then we're going to pull this through the arm. Now, this cable is, or this tape is really tough, but also very sticky. So my preference is to take 2 chunks of electrical tape and that kind of provides the strength of adhering, oh, wrong side, of adhering these two cable parts together. And there it is. So just kind of vertically align them like that. And then over here. And that's pretty strong that way. And what I'll do is I'll take a weaker tape that's easier to remove and put that on the outside, just so that it makes sure that these two pieces of tape don't fall off when we're manipulating them. But this is an using all electrical tape, you're going to be kind of fighting to remove that tape again. So now what we're going to do is we have this. We're going to kind of wiggle this back and forth and see how they go up and down and just feed it through. And keep feeding through. And then once you get to this hole here, you're going to have to kind of feed it up. And it has to, I actually go in and kind of push it in like this because it has to go up and around. There's a whole spring that it has to go through there. Once you get it around the spring, it just kind of feeds right on up. And here you are. We'll take that off now and then adjust the length later. And for that is the last cable. Looks like we didn't have to use a cable hook. Okay. So I will pull that off, pull that off, pull that off. All right. Now, let's start hooking up the cables on top. First, we'll do the US. First, we'll do HDMI. We have this HDMI adapter that is sold separately on the Zoot site. Let me go over here, give you a better view. There we go. Here we are. And we're going to feed some of this through here. Pull some more of this out. There. And we're going to ensure, I guess I don't have the little plate that goes on the back of this. And you can adjust as per your needs. Oh, there we go. There. Now, for these cables that we put through here, we're going to have to feed these through here, through this cable guide. then out the arm, and then out the top. I'm going to do that now. Now I'm going to plug in all the cables, and then we'll just remove the slack as needed. We didn't have enough slack in USB-C. A little bit more. There we go. And DP. Now, here I'm just hooking up every possible cable type. Depending on what you need, your usage may vary. So get what you need, and you won't have to pay extra for all the different cable options. We clearly have this a little too much, which this is there. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave this relatively, if you want and you have that cable adapter here, you can route the cables that way. Just for this demonstration, I'm keeping it like that. But now I'm going through here and I'm taking out all the slack in these cables. Got some slack here, got some slack there. I think this one is what? There we go. That's power. Okay, and you'll note here there's one really little cable here. That goes down to control the touch strips. We'll take care of that later. But now I'm going to take out the cable slack on these guys here by pulling down from the bottom. And I think it's this guy here. This one? Nope, that one. There we go. These are all nice and tight. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down underneath and I'm going to show you how to apply the zip tie to keep these from moving around in the arm when it's in operation. Okay, so here we are looking into the arm here. First thing, there's this one small cable that goes over here. We're not worrying about that one. That's your brake controller cable. We're just trying to grab all these cables right here. Sorry for the black on black, but all these cables right here are the ones that we just installed and tightened up. And we have this little H bridge over here. We're going to bundle all these together and get a zip tie and put it around this cable bundle. What I do is I will hold the zip tie kind of like this and put that, firstly, even before you get the zip tie, it's kind of good to go in with one finger, go around that. You're going to have to avoid, there's a spring leg in there you're going to want to avoid. You're just trying to get the cable bundle. And I'm having to do this and trying to give you guys some sort of a view of what's going on, but it's kind of hard. And I'm just reaching around here, trying to get this through. Give myself a little more slack on the zip tie. And there we go. Okay, so here we are. I've gone around everything with the zip tie. And don't know if you can see that. There it is, the zip tie here. And now we're going around this little H here. Gonna feed the zip tie through here. And yeah, we're around all these cables. We're gonna pull them nice and tight. Now, if you don't do that, these cables can shift around in there and they can wear and get cut eventually if you don't zip tie them in place. That's why we're doing that. Now we'll cut off this extra bit of zip tie. And now we'll go to the back of the arm. All right, so here we are at the back of the arm. What we're going to do now is attach the cable tag. What the cable tag is for is if there's not enough slack in these cables, when the arm pivots down, it can cause it to pinch here and cut the cables. So first thing we're going to do is raise the arm all the way up so this is kind of in a neutral state. And then we're going to put our zip tie parts through the cable tag. Put our zip tie, through both holes of the cable tag and slightly tighten it up. And this is already tightened up over here. And what you want to do is have, if the zip tie goes all the way down here to desk level, that means you should be good. So tighten up the zip tie all the way down there, desk level. You can go a little extra slack is not going to hurt you there. So now we're going to cut off the extra of the zip tie. Oh, geez, sorry. Just not enough space here. Okay. Let's go here. Now we push the zip tie in like this. And see that nice wrap of cable? That's plenty of slack there. We're not going to have any biting problems. Now, all right, we're going to try this again. So here we are, cable tag. We're pushing this in here. Then I take my thumb and push that there so it goes in. Get all these lined up. And then we're going to take the double bubble cover and kind of slide it in like this. Over. Make sure it's got plenty of space there. And there. And then kind of finagle. And over, and down. And likewise, we're going to go over here, single bubble cable cover, and the same general deal. Boom, they're in. And note here, there's not a lot of spare between the Dell power supply coming out of here, but you can always use an extension cord to attach your power to your power supply. All right, that is all here. Then what we can do now is take all your Velcro tabs and attach those to your cable bundle at various spots down here. One thing that's also possible is your Dell power supply can live right here on top of that, and these little attachment points here, you can put Velcro tabs through. Sorry, focus. Yeah, so these little Velcro tabs here through, you can slide Velcro through that to attach this onto here if you want a cleaner installation. Okay, so here we are with the top of the arm. We have to attach our sheath here to these bungees. And while I was mucking with the cables, I knocked one down on the inside. Unfortunately, that's kind of a common occurrence. What I'm going to do here is, you're not going to be able to see it, but I'm going to look inside the arm here. I'm going to spot where it is, and then I'm going to slowly pass it up with my fingers here so I can grab it on the top, pull it out. And the idea is we're going to put it through these outer holes on this cable sheet. So this one's going to be a little bit. Figure out where it is. And here it is right there. I'm going to slowly pass it up from one ear here to the next. Okay, all the way up top. Oh, I'm going to come over here, reach in. And there it is. It pops out. So now I can put that through, put it over, take this one out, hold on, push it through, put it over, pop it in. There we are. And let's show you it in action. All right, this is the first time I'm testing out the screen with cables on it. It pivots easily. This is without the braking unit attached. It pivots easily. Looks like, yeah, there's a little bit of scraping there. May want, let's see. Haven't even, yeah. So I don't know how it's going to be with the little attachment plate there, if that goes with it, because I don't have it. But it works fine here. There is a little bit of the scraping of the cables as you go over here. But otherwise, you know, if that's only in its lowest possible position. One thing that is kind of odd is the screen has a little bit of a tilt going that way. Not too bad, but it works fine here. And here's an example of how the screen tilt looks like. You're probably getting about 15 degrees of screen tilt here. And down here, it looks like, I don't know, probably 30-ish, 20, 25-ish. But yeah, the moves nicely, seems to be at a nice height. I think you'll be satisfied with it. That, in a nutshell, is this. All right, thoughts and ideas for hooking up a touch strip to the back of your Dell Canvas. Right here, if we kind of turn the screen, we have the plug-in to your touch strip under the screen here. You have a coiled auxiliary audio cable that then plugs into your touch strip. Okay, now right here on the outside of the screen, there's kind of a lip here that you could put the touch strip on. The problem is it overhangs by quite a bit. So you're going to have an overhanging touch strip. And then if you look here on the back, you're only going to be contacting on the outer sides of this. So if you're going to go with mounting on this section right here, I would recommend getting an extra set of touch strip stickers, cut them in half, and then apply them on the sides where you're going to be sticking it. So you get a lot more adhesive power there. Probably the easier option here is to just attach the touch strip right up here. So you have one immediate step, a small step, and then here on the very back is kind of a large step. And that one won't require any modifications whatsoever. You can just use the existing stickers that are on the back of your touch strip, put them there, and stick them on, and connect your brake cable. So that's my thoughts on connecting touch strips to the back of your Dell Canvas screen. Thanks a lot.